A while back, I created a rope tray inspired by this picture that I found on Pottery Barn's website that I love so much. And I wanted to create another one of the rope trays in that same grouping. So I bought a tray at Dollar Tree. I'm gonna start with my nautical rope. It is linked down in my Amazon storefront. I will put the link down below for you guys. I'm gonna start in the middle, hot gluing the nautical rope in place, and then I'll continually put hot glue around, making sure that there's no spaces in between the nautical rope. Once I get about halfway done with my rope tray, I'm gonna cut off the nautical rope and I'm gonna come in with a black macrame cord. I'm gonna wrap this around probably about 3 or 4 times doing that same hot glue technique, and then I'll cut that off. And then I'll go back to the nautical rope. I'm gonna repeat this step, adding in nautical rope and the black macrame. Once you get to the very end, you're just going to cut off your nautical rope and you can hot glue it to the back. You guys will have to let me know what you think about this grouped with the other rope tray that I created. I love when I'm shopping at Dollar Tree and I come across something that I'm just like, that would make the perfect DIY. And that's what happened when I saw this Busy Bee canvas bag. I looked at it and I said, that would make an awesome sign. So I picked it up for just $1. I was looking around for something I could use with this sign, and I had this wood piece that I had used previously for another sign at my office, so that's what I'm going to be using. You could also use an 11x14 frame at Dollar Tree. That would be great for this too, or you could get a canvas and put it on a canvas. So I started by cutting off the top portion of my bag so it fit right on my wood piece. Next, I had these little black nails. I think I picked them up at like a hardware store, but they're just little tiny black decorative nails. And I'm gonna nail them into all 4 of my corners. Next, I cut off the bag around the edges and it was kind of fraying a bit. So I went in with some black paint and just did a little bit of distressing around the edges. Then with the extra threads, I just used a lighter to kind of burn them off around the edges. And here's how this sign turned out. It really only cost me $1 because I already had the wood and I think it's adorable. So this next DIY I did was kind of interesting because part of it failed and part of it looked really great. So I'm gonna show you how I did it, and I know what I should have done to make it better. So I'll let you know that so that you don't make the same mistake that I did. So I've noticed on high-end sites, they have a lot of sculptural style pieces, and I wanted to try to create one of my own. So you're going to need some sort of base. I'm gonna start with those wood slices, and I'm gonna put some wood filler in those wood slices because there was a little hole in there and I wanted to make sure that I covered that up. So I'm also going to be using dowel rods for this project. I'm going to cut the dowel rods to the size that I want to use. The other things I'm going to be using are floral wire from Dollar Tree, and I'm also going to be using the wood beads I use in all of my projects. Now I'm going to start by shaping my wire into kind of like a horseshoe shape, maybe a little bit more curved, like almost a circle that's not closed at the top. And one of the circles I'm actually going to make larger than the other. And I'm gonna start stringing the beads onto my wire. So here's where I made my first mistake. With my larger circle, I should have used 2 or 3 wires because the wire I used was not strong enough in the end to hold up this one. Now my smaller one, it held up just fine. I didn't have any problems, but I did have problems with the larger one kind of toppling over. So right here, I would have put in some more wires with this one. So I strung all my beads on. Once I got to the top, I used hot glue at the top of the bead to hold all the beads in place. Next, I'm gonna take a dowel rod and I'm gonna hot glue that to the center portion of my beads. And I'm going to put a lot of hot glue on there. I'm gonna push it to where it's connected to my beads. Once that dries, let it dry, let it set. I'm going to add some hot glue to the back of my beads as well. And then I'm gonna hot glue the dowel rod to the base. I'm gonna start by putting a little bit of hot glue and then I'm gonna build it up. I'm actually gonna add quite a bit more hot glue, making sure I hold on to it until it has a chance to set. Now, once all that is done, I'm gonna spray the entire piece with 2 coats of a matte black spray paint. Now, for the first 2 days that I had this, everything was fine. They stood up great, everything was great. But by like the 2nd and 3rd day when I started to take pictures, one of them just wasn't standing up. So the picture I have to show you is of the smaller one because the smaller one is great. So if you do this project, make sure you use a little bit more wire or maybe more of a heavy duty wire. Have you ever looked at the soap dishes at Dollar Tree and thought, you know what, these would make really good little trinket trays? Well, that's what we're doing in our next project. I grabbed a black soap dish. I also pulled out of my stash my little half circle beads, and I'm gonna start by hot gluing those all around the edge of my soap container. Then I'm gonna spray paint it with 2 coats of a glossy black spray paint. This would be really cute sitting next to your sink or your nightstand to throw your jewelry or your rings on. Hey guys, I'm Liz and you're watching my second DIY channel where I post daily DIY videos. You may be familiar with my main channel, Liz Fenwick DIY, but I'm glad that you found me over here on my second channel. Make sure that you're subscribed so you just get notified every day when I post our daily DIY video.